Do you think that racism still exists?
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
For sure.
Do you think when you said hell yeah, are you like, did something pop up in your head?
Like music? I don't know.
Music?
Strangely, like,
You think
like,
music's racist?
I think like country music or something. Like, it's just kind of emphasizes this weird racial
Dude, that's
thing.
an interesting topic.
It's
Because
kinda
you know there's
strange.
black country music artists, right?
Oh yeah.
So are
Yeah,
you
for
saying
sure.
like country in general, or are you talking about someone specific?
I'm talking very generally, like the sound of it, like the sound of country.
Does it irk you?
No, it doesn't irk me, but it makes me think some type of way. Like it feels very like southern or something. Like it has a
Which is-
racial thing. And like hip hop and country, they're like two clashing things. Like kind of
Well, they're not so much
they're
anymore.
kind of fusing it
Yeah,
in
but
a way, but it is kind of new. And
well, I like what you're saying because I never thought about that.
yeah.
Do you feel that way with all country songs? Is there like
no, not all of them, but some of them, like the accents are really pronounced and stuff. And like,
Do you think it's the accent that makes it weird?
yeah.
What about
that's-
Darius Rucker? Do you think his accent's weird?
He's black, right?
Yes. I wasn't gonna tell you that.
I don't know. Like, I don't know.
He has the same country accent.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm more curious to think that, because I think that I guess I'm understanding what you're saying, right? I don't think
Yeah.
that you're wrong at all, by the way. I think there's something to what you're saying, because there's a historic slavery in the South, and the Southern accent reminds you of the South, which reminds you of that, so that it feels a certain way. So I guess I'm trying to tie in like where it comes from.
But that's just the quintessential black white racism. I'm sure that there's racism happening between all the other Mexican, Asians coming across, like
I don't know.
like Indians. There's a lot of like
Here's my-
stereotypical.
Here's my theory on this. I feel like everyone's racist.
Yeah, for sure.
Like everyone's racist, because if you really break down what racism is, it's really judging a person by their culture or ethnicity or race, without really knowing anything.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone does it. Everyone does it.
And almost automatic.
Some
like,
people do it way worse, and obviously white people have a history of being the worst at it, right? That's the original sin of the United States, right? Is slavery, and so like that's a real thing. Anyone that says it's not a real thing is fucking crazy. It's a real thing, and so there's truth to that, right? But when I break it down, the thought, we're in a day and age where it's less like common, but it still exists, right? That's why I asked you that. But
like acting out, like seeing actions of hatred that are blatantly racist.
yes, to me it's the intent, right? Because a racist thought can happen, right?
Yeah.
But what is your intent? What are your actions doing? What is your intention with what you're doing? And I think you can tell when someone's being intentionally racist, and then that person should be called out. And you're like, dude, what are you doing? Right?
Yeah.
Preferably peacefully, right? Like, hey, do you not know yet? You know what I mean? Like, do I need to fucking like enlighten you? But there's also a person that's unintentionally racist because they grew up around a thing, and those people should also be enlightened and talked about. But I think some people just don't know, and I think it's important to remember that, like, I guess like what I'm really getting at, this is always super hard for a white dude to talk about, but I feel like I grew up in a place where I was born was a predominantly black community. Probably second race was maybe, I want to say, Asian in my neighborhood, and then white people were third. And I grew up in a really, really shitty neighborhood in Louisiana.
Oh wow, that's
which
interesting.
It was predominantly a black community.
Yeah.
Few Asians, and then I think my family was the only white family that lived in my block.
Oh man.
And then I moved to El Paso, Texas,
Oh shit.
predominantly Hispanic.
Yep.
And then I moved to Las Cruces, New Mexico, predominantly Hispanic. So I've always been the least common. I will never refer to myself as a minority, right? Because that's not what I'm saying. But I was not the major. Like, I've never grown up in, like, what's the widest place you can think of? Fucking
Wisconsin.
Huh? Fucking Wisconsin.
Iowa.
Wherever the white people live. Like, I've never grown up and been predominantly in a white community where, like, it's weird like that, right?
Yeah.
So I guess I've never understood racism. Because I always thought, like, wait, what? Like, you know what I mean? And so it's like, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist, right? And you have to, as a white person, you have to understand that there's this huge history. It took me a long time to figure that out because I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, the majority of my friends are black. The majority of my friends are Hispanic. You know what I mean? And I had like 2 or 3 white friends my whole life. You know what I mean? And it's like, no, like, those friends were cool, but it wasn't what I was drawn to. And so I didn't understand that there was this divide. I just kind of, because I don't see it, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And so you have to learn how to like judge when it exists.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I guess my main point is that everyone feels a little bit, because I guess the point of my story, culturally, I grew up around that. And so, and I make this joke a lot with my friends. I may have made this joke with you before, and it is in fact a joke, but I do kind of feel this way. I feel that I might be a little bit racist against white people because I find myself more judgy of that typical white kind of thing from Wisconsin, if we're going to use that as a template.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying though, right?
Yeah,
like I find it a little bit annoying. I don't click with it right away. I think it's like, it's just not me. And so like, me admitting that is saying that, like, man, I kind of feel that way, you know what I mean? Like, I feel awkward hanging out with a bunch of white people, and I feel kind of calm hanging out with my group of friends, which is predominantly black or Hispanic. Yeah. And so, like, being honest with myself, I'm like, all right, like, I think I might have this weird feeling towards, like, that specific type of people. At the end of the day, like, I judge people individually on who they are.
Yeah.
But I'm saying there's, like, a little undertone of it, right?
Yeah, I feel a similar way about black people.
Do you really? Yeah. What do you mean, though?
Like almost like not clicking with them, like you said, like a little bit annoyed by that kind of like ghetto, if you want to say ghetto, or like, yeah, especially the speech, like the speaking dialect. If it's too thug or like ghetto dialect, that's a real turnoff. Well, remember we talked about how
we did. To me, that means you don't like ghetto talk. Right?
Yeah,
because trust me, I know some white people that talk like that. I know some Hispanic people that talk like that. I know a Puerto Rican that talks like that. So I get what you're saying. It's just like, if we're going to speak in generalities, it comes off that way, right?
Yeah.
And they exist. And so, like, we can't deny those. So I get what you're saying.
Super generalities, yeah, like I have a judgment of black people in a way. But I know, like, it comes down to the individual and who they are and what.
Yes, we would never just cap it off, right? That you know what I mean? That's like saying, like, I ate a bad slice of pizza, so I don't eat pizza.
Yeah, because
fuck pizza. No, you just ate like the wrong pizza. Maybe you want different toppings, right? And so, like, you never should put a cap on everything, right? But there's a root of that, and I think people, if I had to guess, people are scared to admit that, right? So I think that you're brave for saying what you said. I hope that I'm brave for saying what I said, because I don't mean it in a mean way. I have plenty of, my family's white, you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
I'm half white and half black.
Yeah, so yeah. I guess that's important to mention too. Which parent is white and which parent's black?
My mom's white and my dad is African.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, when we're saying white and black, it's like, it's so general, like,
literally, there's not a Whitesville and Blacksville.
Yeah,
but we get what we're talking about.
White people are like Germans, Irish, English.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And no one taught me that growing up either, by the way.
Spaniards. So when you start looking at, like, where are you actually from? What is your bloodline? Like, it gets so much deeper into, like, what people actually are, like, and there's so much differences.
We're products of our environment. Regardless of the color, if you put someone in a specific place long enough, they're going to fall towards those tendencies.
Yeah.
And so it's just the way it goes. There's nothing wrong with enjoying where you're from. There's nothing wrong with clicking up with your culture, race, religion, whatever it is. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But closing your eyes to everything else is what's wrong. And saying that this is me, this is my circle, so everything else is stupid. No, you're stupid for not wanting to understand other people outside of your circle. Yeah. And I think that's what I meant when this conversation started, when I said everyone has a little bit of that in, right? Call it racism, call it sexism, call it whatever ism you want to call it. The bottom line is you're looking at what you think is comfortable and saying everything else is wrong, and that is fucking stupid. We all have tendencies, but when you meet an individual, judge them for who they are in that moment. And if they're stupid, then they're stupid, and you go, I don't want anything to do with you. And if they're awesome, then they're awesome, and you hang out with them and grow. And this goes back to what we we're talking about earlier, where it's like, if I don't get you, I am more interested. I really want to know more, because who am I to make a judgment off non-facts? No one deserves the right to do that. But if someone were to have, they should at least know all the facts, right? What questions have you asked? what research have you done? Have you tried to understand the things you don't understand?
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think that that's the most important part of our society, is that like we need to like take a genuine interest in the other person. There's literally been times at a party or wherever we're at, where I'll be hanging out with a bunch of people for fucking hours, maybe 2 hours, right? And some other white person will come up to me and like, hey man, is it weird that we're the only 2 white people here?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh shit, we are the only 2 white people here. Like I didn't even think of that. Like I was just enjoying my moment. And then this fucker came along and told me that, and I'm like, why? Like, obviously he was thinking about that. You know what I mean? But I'm like, those are the reminders to myself that I'm like, oh, like I don't give a fuck about all that shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. And maybe there was another white person there. It wasn't about that. Maybe there was mostly white people, like in a different scenario. It doesn't matter if you're enjoying your time and you're around people you love and you're having fun with and good conversations and you're invoking thought and you're growing and you're doing all the things that you need to be the better version of you. Then who gives a fuck, man? Who gives a fuck about any of that stuff?
Yeah, for real.
That's the way I feel about it.
That's true. I was gonna say I feel like there's a program running, like a surface level, like a mass program running, like, and that's where the racism is like residing, and it's like coming through the media. It's coming through the cultural norms of the American society.
Yeah.
Like all the movies and shit, just like.
Do you think it's like?
So it's like.
What do you mean a program?
It's a basic program, like a base level program.
Some Matrix shit, man.
Yeah, Matrix. Yeah. So like if you're just being a surface dweller and you're kind of like being lazy with your life and like not going into the moments.
Yeah.
I
Sorry,
feel
this
like
hat's fucking hurting my.
Oh, cool.
My beautiful ears. All right, we're good.
So if you're just being a surface dweller, like kind of just being shallow and not engaging in your own life. Then you're kind of just running these basic level programs. You know what I mean? And you're just judging people automatically, like, oh, he's a black person, like, oh, they're ghetto. You know what I mean? Like, and like, so
you're just going off the program.
That's just running for everybody, but it takes actually like some self-searching, some like in those moments, you start a random conversation. You give the person a little bit of time a day. You start that conversation. You're like, oh, where are you actually from? You get more details. You know, you get those experiences because you're just there, and you can like take a step out of that basic level and be like, wait, this is just an individual. I don't know anything about them. Like, it takes a little bit to have that openness to, because a lot of people might just be operating on that like very selfish, closed, running just the basic level.
Do you think they got that programming from like their family? Like mom and dad said this shit, so like that's how I feel too.
Yeah.
You think
just
so?
Just being around people that are.
I feel like that's for sure. Like it. I guess I like to be kind, right?
Simple, though.
What were you saying?
I don't know if it's like that simple, but that's just
no. I don't
kind
think
of
it's
like
that simple, but I get what you're saying.